Lifebringer Galactus. That's when the Devourer of Worlds became the Creator of Worlds. It's one of the wildest transformations in Marvel cosmic history, because we're talking about a guy whose entire existence was built on destruction, suddenly becoming a force of creation and renewal. This version of Galactus first appeared during the Ultimates by Al Ewing, and here's what happens. So after Secret Wars 2015, the multiverse gets rebuilt, and the cosmic status quo is shaken up. Galactus is still out there doing his usual thing, until the superhero team known as the Ultimates, which includes Captain Marvel, Blue Marvel, Black Panther, Spectrum, and America Chavez, decide to take on the impossible: fix Galactus. Using advanced technology and cosmic energy manipulation, they basically throw him into a massive cosmic incubator and force him through what's called a cosmic metamorphosis. When he emerges, he's golden, radiant, and recharged. As the Lifebringer, his purpose flips entirely. Instead of feeding on life, he gives it. He starts using his cosmic energy to revive dead planets and reignite dying stars. He becomes a creative cosmic entity, restoring balance to the universe that he'd spent eons devouring. He's no longer bound to hunger or destruction. He even develops a higher awareness of his own nature, realizing that his former existence as a destroyer was just one phase in a larger cosmic cycle. For decades, Galactus was portrayed as this necessary evil. Wade Richards, the Silver Surfer, and others all wrestled with the moral question of whether Galactus should exist. But the Lifebringer version says, what if he's not just a destroyer? What if he's meant to evolve? Of course, nothing that pure lasts forever in Marvel. Later stories like Ultimates 2 show that even as a Lifebringer, Galactus faces cosmic backlash. Beings like the Living Tribunal and Eternity see his new form as a disruption in the natural order. But every action in the cosmos has consequences, and Galactus' rebirth draws enemies, especially when reality itself starts questioning if a being of pure creation can truly exist without destruction somewhere else. In short, Lifebringer Galactus is the redemption arc of the universe itself. He goes from a symbol of cosmic hunger to one of cosmic harmony. The Black Vortex form of Kitty Pryde. The Black Vortex is basically Marvel's ultimate cosmic upgrade machine. You look into it, submit to it, and it transforms you into the most powerful version of yourself. During the Black Vortex crossover, a bunch of heroes and villains debate whether to use it because it's permanent and can completely change who you are. Kitty Pryde, the X-Men's resident phasing genius, ends up making the call to submit, and the result is one of the most jaw-dropping power-ups in X-Men history. Before the Black Vortex, Kitty's power was already pretty impressive. She can phase through walls, become intangible, and even take other people with her. But when she accepts the Black Vortex's gift, she levels up in a way that makes even the cosmic big shots do a double take. Her phasing becomes so advanced that she can phase entire planets. Yup, not a wall, not a building, a planet. She literally phases a whole world to save it from being destroyed. Her new form is visually stunning too. The Black Vortex gives her the sleek, glowing cosmic look with starry skin and flowing energy patterns. She's no longer just a mutant hero, she's a full-on cosmic entity. And what's cool is that Kitty doesn't lose herself in the process. The Vortex offers power at a cost. It can corrupt. But Kitty stays true to who she is. Instead of becoming some galactic conqueror, she uses her new abilities to protect people on a universal scale. One of the most iconic moments is when she faces a planet to avoid it colliding with another one. The sheer scale of that feat can be overstated. It puts her in the same league as characters like Silver Surfer or Captain Marvel when it comes to cosmic heroics. This was the first time Kitty went from brilliant, scrappy X-Men member to a being who could casually manipulate matter on a universal scale. This transformation also shows Kitty's growth as a character. She started as the youngest member of the X-Men, often overshadowed by the likes of Wolverine, Storm, and Cyclops, and by the time of the Black Vortex event, she's a leader, a powerhouse, and willing to take risks that others wouldn't. Her choice to submit to the Vortex wasn't just about power, it was about doing what no one else could do to save countless lives. And even after the event, Kitty keeps the cosmic upgrade for a while, which opens the door for more ambitious storytelling. It's not permanent forever, but for a brief period, we got to see what happens when one of Marvel's most clever and compassionate heroes is given near limitless power. And honestly, it ruled. King of the Dead Black Panther. This version of Black Panther is one of the most powerful and symbolically rich versions of T'Challa ever written. Not just a ruler of a nation, but the ruler of souls. This mantle came during Jonathan Hickman's legendary Fantastic Four and New Avengers runs, when the Panther God Bast appointed T'Challa to watch over the Necropolis, the scared Wakandan city of the dead. There, the spirits of all the past Black Panthers rest, kings, warriors, and projectors, stretching back centuries. The title King of the Dead gave T'Challa the ability to commune with his ancestors, drawing on their their knowledge, their wisdom, and their strength. But it wasn't just a gift, it was a burden, because this time, T'Challa wasn't ruling the living, he was guiding the souls of his predecessors, and in their eyes, that made him responsible for the very legacy of Wakanda itself. At first, the title was mostly spiritual, it gave T'Challa access to the wisdom of every Panther who came before him, allowing him to stand as Wakanda's mystical protector, even while his sister Shuri ruled as queen. But during Hickman's New Avengers, the power took on a much darker tone. As the multiverse began collapsing from the incursions, T'Challa became part of the Illuminati, a secret council of Earth's greatest minds, all trying to save existence. Their mission forced them into morally impossible decisions like building world-destroying weapons and erasing Captain America's memory to keep their secrets. T'Challa, the man who had once sworn to protect life, found himself complicit in plans to destroy entire populated Earths. This guilt haunted him. In Avengers issue 21, his ancestors urge him to destroy another world to save his own. When he refuses, his father T'Chaka calls him a failure and strips him of their blessing. Then the title of King of the Dead becomes a curse, a reflection of his shame. He's no longer the perfect leader or the wise protector, he's a man torn between duty and morality. But all that changes in Secret Wars 2015 when T'Challa finally reclaims what King of the Dead truly means. During the final battle against God Emperor Doom on Battleworld, T'Challa takes command of the zombie horde trapped beyond the shield wall. With his title, he literally commands the dead. The Black Panther raises an army of the undead, rallying them under his banner with a war cry for glory and honor. So throughout New Avengers, he was haunted by failure and doubt, but in Secret Wars, he becomes the man his ancestors wanted him to be, a true king. By standing against Doom, T'Challa proves that leadership isn't about power, it's about courage and conviction. And when Doom's reign ends, the Infinity Gauntlet in T'Challa's hand restores what was lost. The multiverse begins again, and he returns to the moment where everything started, this time with the wisdom to make things right. So King of the Dead Black Panther isn't just a power-up. It's the culmination of T'Challa's entire arc, from protector to exile, from failure to legend. He becomes more than the King of Wakanda, even when surrounded by death.
The Bleeding Edge Armor. The Bleeding Edge armor marks the point where Tony Stark basically becomes Iron Man 24/7. No more lugging around a suitcase or summoning suits from satellites. Introduced in Invincible Iron Man issue 25 in 2010, this armor was the first nanotech suit in Marvel Comics, living inside Tony's body and ready to assemble at a thought. After rebooting his brain, Tony designs this new armor as the ultimate fusion of man and machine, making him Iron Man in a way he'd never been before. This armor is stored inside Tony's bones in the form of a liquid metal, which sounds kind of horrifying but is also very cool. At any moment, he can mentally command it to flow out of his body and form the full Iron Man suit around him. No clunky assembly, no rushing to grab a briefcase, just instant transformation. It's fast, sleek, and way more advanced than everything he'd ever used before, feeling like a natural evolution of the Extremis armor. Functionally, the Bleeding Edge is loaded with toys. It can generate blades, energy cannons, shields, and even entire constructs out of its nanomaterial. It's self-repairing. It adapts in real time, and it can even detach pieces of itself to form drones. The flexibility is what makes this armor so powerful. Tony isn't just wearing a suit, he's basically wearing a shape-shifting weapon system that responds to whatever situation he's in. One of the coolest things about this version is how seamlessly it integrates with Tony's biology. The suit keeps him alive if he's injured, filters out toxins, and even boosts his strength and reflexes. It turns Iron Man from guy in a suit into a literal cyborg superhero. At this point, there's basically no line between Tony and Iron Man. If the armor is part of him, so is the mission. Personality-wise, this is also peak futurist Tony Stark. He's confident, maybe a little too confident, and fully embracing transhumanism. Bleeding Edge is Iron Man at his most ambitious, showing what happens when Tony stops thinking about practical constraints and just builds the perfect weaponized second skin. Eventually the armor is destroyed because it wouldn't be comics if something that powerful stuck around forever, but its legacy lives on. The idea of a nanotech Iron Man armor became a staple, influencing later suits in both the comics and the MCU. If you loved how Tony's armor worked in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, you have Bleeding Edge to thank for planting that seed years earlier.
Worthy Widow. It is one of those what-if versions of Natasha Romanoff that instantly makes you wish it was canon. It takes on Marvel's most grounded human characters, a woman with no powers, no gods watching over her, and no backup beyond her own will, and gives her the power of a god. In this alternate reality from What If, Age of Ultron issue 3, the world has been torn apart by Ragnarok. Thor falls in the final battle against the World Serpent, and in the aftermath, most of the Avengers are dead. The world is collapsing into chaos. Frost giants roam the earth, and the last remnants of humanity are being hunted. But among the few survivors, Nick Fury, Falcon, Shang-Chi, Microchip, and Natasha, one hero refuses to accept the end. And that's where the legend of Worthy Widow begins. When she finds Mjolnir lying among the ruins of the battle, and when she grips the hammer, she lifts it. And in that instant, the Black Widow becomes the new god of thunder. Lightning surges through her suit fuses with Asgardian armor, and the woman once trained to kill now carries the power to save entire worlds. As Worthy Widow, Natasha wastes no time. She takes the risks, summoning storms that tear through the armies of frost giants and dives straight into the combat against the World Serpent. The battle is pure myth. Natasha fights with the fury of a god, but the precision of a soldier. Nick Fury, narrating the story, calls her the stuff of legend, saying that out of all the madness he's seen, gods, aliens, monsters, nothing compared to seeing Black Widow leading warriors and Valkyries into battle, a hammer in hand, eyes blazing with lightning. For her, Mjolnir isn't a weapon, it's absolution. Natasha's entire life has been defined by guilt, red in her ledger, blood on her hands, a past she can't erase. But when she lifts that hammer, the universe itself declares her worthy. And unlike many other heroes who lifted Mjolnir out of power or fate, Natasha lifts it out of need. The tragedy, of course, is that we only get a glimpse of her in this role. The story ends with Fury's reflection on that one perfect moment when Natasha Romanoff, the human among gods, stood against the end of everything and won. Yes, it's just a fun what-if story, but it's the ultimate testament to who Natasha really is. Strip away the gadgets, the espionage, and the spy games, and what's left is someone who's always been ready to pick up the hammer when no one else could.
Old Man Phoenix. He's basically Logan cranked up to cosmic levels, claws, healing factor, and now a universe-burning Firebird inside him. This version of Wolverine comes from a far-flung future where King Loki wiped out humanity just to make Thor suffer. Logan actually died during this apocalypse, but the Phoenix Force chose him as its new host and brought him back to life. From there, he spent countless eons wandering the dying universe, snuffing out celestial bodies one by one to ease the cosmos toward its inevitable end. Logan basically becomes a one-man funeral for the universe. Old Man Phoenix is fully aware, older, and a little more philosophical. He still has Logan's classic gruff personality, but he's been alive for billions of years, carrying the weight of watching everything he's ever cared about fade away. When we meet him, he's scarred by time but still fighting, still moving forward. And that combination of cosmic scale and Logan's street-level attitude is what makes this version so compelling. It's the same guy who used to drink at the bar with Nightcrawler, now casually blowing up stars. At one point, Logan crosses paths with a future Loki who has caused endless suffering across the galaxy while chasing the Infinity Stones. After seeing enough death, Logan decides to step in, using his Phoenix powers to go back in time and try to stop Loki's plan. This kicks off a series of time-hopping adventures where he battles Ultron drones, steals the Space Stone out from under S.H.I.E.L.D.'s nose, and even stalks his old friends from the shadows just to see them one last time. It's a perfect mix of nostalgic and bittersweet. This is Wolverine after all. He can't just sit quietly when the universe is in danger. The biggest clash comes when Logan reunites with Thor in the future. Thor is trying to bring life back to Earth, but Logan actually attacks him for it, saying something worse. Dr. Doom is waiting out there and will come for Earth if it's repopulated. The two old friends throw down in an insane battle, but the Phoenix refuses to let Logan kill Thor because of its own ancient connection to him. Eventually, Logan agrees to fight alongside Thor against Doom, setting up one of the most insane final battles in Marvel history. Logan goes out in true Wolverine fashion, painfully, violently, but with purpose. Doom literally burns him down to a skeleton with hellfire, but Logan resurrects himself through the Phoenix Force, then sacrifices his own life and power to transform the Phoenix into Mjolnir. This gives Thor the ultimate weapon he needs to finish Doom for good. It's a heroic, almost mythic death for Logan, and one of the most badass exits Marvel has ever given him. But of course, you can't keep Wolverine down forever. The Phoenix resurrects him again, and he eventually joins the goddesses of thunder and fights even bigger multiversal threats, including Doom, the Living Planet. After helping contain the power of the first firmament alongside two other Phoenix hosts, Logan finally gets to rest. He literally retires and becomes a gardener at the end of time. After all the blood, fire, and tragedy, it's strangely beautiful to see Wolverine finally find some peace. The God Without Fear. Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, is already one of Marvel's most fascinating heroes, a blind lawyer by day, a vigilante by night, and someone constantly wrestling with fate, morality, and guilt. So when he gets cosmic powers, it's the ultimate collision of street-level heroics with god-tier awareness. The God Without Fear first shows up in War of the Realms, and the moment you see him, you just know this is not your usual Hell's Kitchen story. It all starts when the War of the Realms spills onto Earth and chaos erupts. Malekith and his army are invading, the 10 realms are colliding, and everyone from Thor to Spider-Man is getting pulled into this massive battle. In the middle of it all, Daredevil ends up wielding Hofund, Heimdall's enchanted sword. But here's the kicker. The sword doesn't just give him a weapon, it also grants him cosmic sight, essentially the ability to see everything across the 9 realms all at once. For a guy who's been blind his whole life, suddenly being able to see not just the world but the entire cosmos, that's huge. And Matt doesn't just gain vision, he gains Heimdall's cosmic awareness, meaning he can perceive threats across time and space. This takes Daredevil from being a protector of Hell's Kitchen to someone who can literally watch the entire universe. It's one of those oh wow moments where you realize just how much dangerous and capable Matt becomes with his upgrade. In this form, Daredevil is an absolute force. He fights frost giants, dark elves, and other mythic threats like he's been doing it his whole life. His senses are so heightened that he's practically untouchable in combat. And yes, like most cosmic power-ups in Marvel, it's a temporary thing, but it leaves a huge impression on Matt and on readers. After experiencing that level of perception, Matt has to come back down to earth, literally, and return to the gritty, grounded life he had before. So even when he's given godlike power, he still has to face the small, painful struggles that make him who he is. He doesn't lose himself to power. He doesn't try to become some cosmic overlord. Instead, he uses the gift to protect others and fight for justice on a scale he never thought possible. It's a brief moment where Daredevil stops being the devil of Hell's Kitchen and becomes something closer to the Watcher of the Realms. The God Without Fear isn't just a flashy power-up, it's a glimpse at what makes Matt Murdock so compelling. Astro Regulator Thanos. If King Thanos is the embodiment of victory without purpose, this version of Thanos is the apex of omnipotence, a version who rewrites all of existence. Introduced in Thanos the Infinity Conflict and the Infinity Ending, this version of the Mad Titan wields the power of a forgotten, cosmic device called the Astro Regulator. In this storyline, Thanos transcends even the powers of the Living Tribunal, the Infinity Stones, and the One Above All's cosmic balance, all in pursuit of one insane goal: absolute control of all realities, timelines, and possibilities. He achieves this by discovering and taking control of the Astro Regulator, a device once used by the One Above All to maintain equilibrium across the multiverse, and with it, Thanos becomes the supreme editor of reality itself. Once in possession of the device, Thanos absorbs the Living Tribunal, erases multiversal abstracts like eternity and infinity, destroys entire universes as casually as blinking, rewrites the laws of logic and physics to fit his will, and becomes omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent across the multiverse. And he did all of that with a terrifying calmness, believing he's making the universe better. And like a cosmic editor cleaning up a messy book, he trims anything he finds unnecessary, even if it means wiping out entire civilizations or abstract embodiments of concepts. But here's the twist: he loses. Why? Because he makes the same mistake he always does. He underestimates himself, or rather a version of himself. In the final moments of the Infinity Ending, a part of Thanos' soul, dubbed the Good Thanos, the one that regrets doubts and fears, manages to separate itself and reject the device's influence. With help from Adam Warlock, this fragment essentially undoes everything Astro Regulator Thanos created, using the device to reset reality back to its original state. And the price? The eraser of the godlike Thanos. So despite having ultimate power, Astro Regulator Thanos is brought down not by a bigger force, but by his own inner conflict. And based on that, we can safely say that this version of Thanos is one of the most powerful beings in all of Marvel lore. More powerful than the Infinity Gauntlet, more powerful than King Thanos, and arguably above nearly every cosmic entity. The God of Stories. Loki has always been the god of mischief, the schemer, the backstabber, the troublemaker who somehow keeps surviving every mess he creates. But Agent of Asgard flips the script and gives him one of the most satisfying glow-ups in Marvel history. Over the course of the series, Loki works to rewrite his own myth, literally trying to change the story of who he is. He doesn't want to be locked into the same old cycle of trick, betray, get punished, repeat. And by the end, he actually pulls it off. He becomes the god of stories, a completely new version of Loki. The cool thing here is that this isn't just a power-up where Loki throws bigger magic blasts. As the god of stories, Loki essentially steps outside the narrative. He gains control over his own fate, and even to some extent, the fate of others, by shaping the story around him. It's Marvel's way of saying Loki is done playing the villain in everyone else's saga. Now he's the author of his own legend. Visually, this form is gorgeous, he's calmer, wiser, and for once, honest about what he wants. This Loki isn't just trying to prove himself to Odin or outwit Thor, he's trying to become something better, something that makes sense of all the pain he's caused and all the suffering he's endured. What makes this version so fun is that Loki still has his charm and mischievousness. He hasn't become boring or saintly, he's just not trapped anymore. When he faces King Loki, a future version of himself who represents everything terrible Loki could become, he literally rewrites the ending and chooses a different path. It's like a redemption arc, but done in the most Loki way possible. with cleverness, wordplay, and just a little bit of trolling. Power-wise, this is Loki operating on a meta level. He can manipulate stories, change perceptions, and essentially guide how events play out. It doesn't make him omnipotent, but it does make him one of the most influential forces in the Marvel multiverse. He can be a hero, a villain, or something completely outside that binary, wherever the story needs him to be. Fans love God of Stories Loki because it's the ultimate payoff for years of Loki's character development. It shows he's more than just the perpetual bad guy. He's someone who can grow, change, and even inspire. It's a fresh start, but still undeniably Loki, which is what makes this transformation one of the most satisfying ultimate forms Marvel has ever done.
Beyonder Spider-Man. It's one of those rare transformations where Peter Parker temporarily becomes something far beyond the friendly neighborhood hero we know. He becomes a god in human form. It all starts in Spider-Man and the Secret Wars in 2009, a modern retelling of the original 1984 Secret Wars from Spider-Man's POV. During the original storyline, the cosmic being known as the Beyonder gathered Earth's greatest heroes and villains onto Battleworld to watch them fight for his amusement. But in this retelling, we get a deeper look at what that actually felt like for Peter, a street-level hero suddenly thrust into a cosmic arena ruled by gods. By the time the events unfold, Peter's been through chaos. Alien planets, alien suits, and impossible battles. But when the Beyonder, a being who can manipulate reality on a whim, directly interacts with him, something unique happens. For a brief moment, Peter becomes infused with a fraction of the Beyonder's cosmic power. We're talking about a level of energy that can reshape universes. And Peter, the same guy who worries about rent and Aunt May's health, suddenly feels the weight of infinite awareness. It's not just range, it's omnipotence in the mind of a man who spent his whole life trying to do the right thing. As Beyonder Spider-Man, Peter doesn't just swing around or punch harder, he literally manipulates reality. He can bend space, rewrite matter, and alter the fabric of physics itself. His spider sense becomes almost divine intuition, but unlike other god-level Marvel characters who revel in that power, Peter's reaction is pure discomfort. He is terrified by what he can do. Every instinct in him screams that no one should hold this much power, especially someone who's seen how easily it corrupts, from Norman Osborn to Dr. Octopus to even heroes like Tony Stark. The Beyonder's experiment forces him to confront the very core of his identity. The moment Peter realizes the danger of his newfound abilities, he chooses to give it up. That choice, to reject godhood, is what makes him worthy of it in the first place. Visually, his costume glows with pure energy, almost like the symbiote suit reborn in light instead of darkness. It's both a parallel and an inversion of his infamous Black Suit arc. Where that version of Peter was corrupted by alien influence, this one gains unimaginable power and still stays himself. So Beyonder Spider-Man isn't about watching Spider-Man become all-powerful, it's about watching Peter Parker stay Peter Parker when he could be anything else. The whole story captures what makes him unique among Marvel heroes. He doesn't need omnipotence to be extraordinary, and even when given the power of the Beyonder, he proves that responsibility isn't about how much power you have, but how much restraint you can show when you hold it.
Worldbreaker Hulk. When people talk about the most powerful version of the Hulk, they are almost always talking about Worldbreaker Hulk. This isn't just Hulk after stubbing his toe and going berserk. This is the result of years of rage, grief, and betrayal boiling over into something unstoppable. The story kicks off with the Illuminati deciding Hulk is too dangerous for Earth and blasting him into space. At first, it seems like a punishment, but Hulk actually finds peace on the planet Sakaar. He becomes a gladiator, leads a rebellion, and eventually becomes king. For the first time in years, he is truly happy. And then Marvel rips it all away. His ship explodes, killing his wife and unborn child and leaving Hulk broken, emotionally and mentally, in a way we'd never seen before. This tragedy triggers a level of rage so intense that Hulk becomes something beyond himself. He gathers an army, returns to Earth, and declares war on the heroes who sent him away. This is the World War Hulk storyline, and it's exactly as metal as it sounds. Hulk isn't interested in talking, he isn't interested in negotiating, he wants revenge. And here's where things get really wild. Worldbreaker Hulk's power isn't just stronger punches, his very footsteps shake the ground hard enough to cause earthquakes. The gamma radiation pouring off him that it threatens to fry everyone nearby. He can clap his hands together and level entire city blocks. His range is off the charts. He stomps heroes like Iron Man, knocks around the X-Men, and even defeats Sentry in one of the most brutal brawls ever drawn. But what makes Worldbreaker Hulk so fascinating isn't just the raw power, it's the personality that comes with it. He's not a mindless monster, he's calm, collected, almost regal, and completely in control. That's what makes him so scary. He's not smashing things out of instinct, he's making deliberate choices. When he punishes the Illuminati, it's methodical. He forces them into gladiator battles, just like he endured on Sakaar. This form film also shows the potential danger of Hulk's power if he ever truly let loose. If Hulk completely unleashed his rage, he could literally shatter the planet. That's why this version has become so iconic. It's the closest we've seen the Hulk reaching his theoretical maximum. The version fans bring up whenever they argue that Hulk could beat a certain character. And even after the dust settled and the Hulk calmed down, the legacy of Worldbreaker Hulk stuck. It proved Hulk is more than just a wild card for Avengers to worry about. He's a global threat if pushed too far. It's one of those storylines that elevated him from Big Green Bruiser to a truly mythic figure in Marvel history.
Winter Hulk. This version of Jennifer Walters comes from Jason Aaron's Avengers run. The story picks up after Jen had finally regained some peace and control over her She-Hulk persona, only for that to be ripped away when the Winter Guard, Russia's superhuman strike team, abducts her. They drag her into the infamous Red Room, the same facility that created Black Widow, except this time they don't train her, they break her, and what emerges is Winter Hulk, the most destructive incarnation of Jennifer Walters ever. While the Red Room's experiments enhance her strength far beyond her usual Hulk limits, they also twist her psychology. The process turns her skin into a burning, metallic crimson, and her gamma energy becomes volatile, manifesting as bursts of green fire that she can actually breathe. She goes from someone who smashes her enemies to someone who melts them. Once she escapes, her first mission is hunting down Gorilla Man, the Avengers traitor who helped the Winter Guard capture her. So she storms into a bar full of mercenaries and wipes them out without hesitation. What really adds to the horror is what the Red Room did behind the scenes. They sold her blood. The Russian government made a deal with Dracula, allowing the newly established vampire nation in Chernobyl to feed on She-Hulk's gamma-infused blood. The result was an even more unstable and monstrous transformation, with Jen's strength tied to vampiric rage and hunger. That connection made Winter Hulk unpredictable, almost feral. She became a living weapon designed to destroy anything that stood in Russia's way. She withstands oceanic pressure, fighting off armies of Atlanteans, burns through steel with her fire breath, and destroys military-grade defenses like paper. She's meaner, more tactical, and fights with the kind of cold, surgical efficiency that only comes from being brainwashed and rebuilt by the Red Room. Even the Avengers, who once counted her as a close ally, realized they might not be able to stop her without destroying her in the process. But underneath all that rage and destruction, there's still a trace of Jennifer Walters. You can feel that struggle in her quieter moments. The problem is, every time she tries to claw her way back to sanity, the monster pushes harder. So basically, she is the She-Hulk stripped of humor, empathy, and restraint. It's one of the most disturbing, yet fascinating evolutions of the character.
Captain Hydra. He is one of the most shocking and controversial evil versions of Captain America, a version of Steve Rogers who is revealed to have been loyal to Hydra all along. This dark twist was introduced in Captain America Steve Rogers 1 in 2016, and it turned the symbol of freedom and justice into the face of oppression and control. Captain Hydra exists in the main Marvel timeline, making his betrayal all the more personal and devastating. The origin of this version of Cap comes from the storyline known as Secret Empire. In this event, the sentient cosmic artifact known as Kobek, a living cosmic cube with the mind of a child, was manipulated by Hydra to rewrite reality. Kobek altered Steve Rogers' past, changing his memories so that he truly believed he had been a Hydra sleeper agent since childhood. In his mind, he wasn't betraying his country, he had always been with Hydra. To everyone else, however, this twist came as an unthinkable betrayal. The man who carried the shield, who stood for liberty, who led the Avengers, was now wearing Hydra's logo on his uniform and declaring Hail Hydra. This version of Steve took all of the strategic brilliance, leadership, and charisma of Captain America and turned them toward Hydra's cause. He didn't act like a mindless villain, he ran Hydra like a well-oiled machine, conquering the United States from within and imposing a new world order with terrifying efficiency. Under his leadership, heroes were imprisoned, rebels were crushed, and the world genuinely felt like hope was gone. Visually, he wore a dark green uniform that combined his traditional Captain America look with Hydra's serpent imagery. This was Steve Rogers himself, fully embracing a fascist ideology and using his legacy as a weapon to manipulate and control the people who once trusted him. For years, heroes and citizens alike looked up to Captain America as the moral central of the superhero community. Seeing him not only turn, but claim he had always been Hydra, shattered the moral of heroes like Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Black Widow. Even characters like Sam Wilson struggled to believe that their mentor and friend could do such things, and it forced them to step up in his place as symbols of true heroism. Ultimately, he was defeated when the real Steve Rogers, a version preserved inside the remnants of Kobek's mind, returned to reclaim his legacy and take down his Hydra counterpart. But the damage was already done. The world had watched Captain America become the villain, and even after his redemption, the scars of what happened lingered. Captain Hydra is one of Marvel's most unsettling evil variants because he takes the ultimate symbol of good and twists it into something monstrous. He shows what happens when hope becomes control, when freedom becomes tyranny, and when the person you trusted most becomes your greatest enemy. Out of all the dark versions of Marvel heroes, Captain Hydra hits the hardest because he represents the absolute fall of a hero.
The Goddess of Thunder. Long before Charles Xavier found her and taught her the word mutant, Ororo was already worshipped as a weather goddess in Africa. Her power wasn't just science or mutation, it was divine. Over the years, writers hinted that there was something more mystical in her connection to the elements, but it wasn't until Asgardian Wars in 1985 that Marvel made that literal. In that storyline, Loki gifts Storm an Uru hammer, similar to Thor's Mjolnir, hoping to manipulate her into becoming his own champion. Instead, she becomes something far greater, the Goddess of Thunder. When Storm first wielded that hammer, it wasn't just a costume change, it was a revelation. What made it even cooler was how different she was from Thor. Where Thor's thunder was raw and wild, Storm's was balanced and harmonious, an extension of her empathy with nature itself. She didn't just call lightning, she communed with it. But the Asgardian gods, being who they are, the transformation didn't last forever. Loki's manipulations were exposed, and Ororo gave up the hammer rather than let anyone, even gods, control her destiny. Decades later, Marvel brought that idea full circle. In Black Panther issue 172, T'Challa himself calls her what she's always been, a true goddess. During their reconnection, T'Challa tells her to embrace her heritage as a descendant of African priestesses. And around the same time in X-Men Gold issue 26, Marvel teased her return to that goddess of thunder status in a big way. Jason Aaron's Thor comics introduced a universe filled with hundreds of new hammers, scattered across creation after Mjolnir's destruction. One of those hammers finds its way to Ororo, and it responds to her. Instantly she becomes the goddess of thunder again, wielding Asgardian power with her own mutant divinity. It's a statement that she's one of the few beings in Marvel who truly bridges the gap between god and mortal. Unlike Thor, who was born into divinity, Storm earned it. Her godhood isn't handed down by Odin. It's born from compassion, willpower, and her role as a protector. When she wields the hammer, it's not about control, it's about unity with natural and divine forces of the universe. In short, Goddess of Thunderstorm is the perfect embodiment of everything Ororo Munro stands for. She's not just an Omega-level mutant, she's a cosmic elemental deity who commands the respect of gods and mortals alike. Whether she's leading the X-Men, ruling alongside the Black Panther, or standing among the pantheon of Asgard, Storm doesn't need anyone's approval to claim her power.
The Unseen. Nick Fury has always been the guy who knows too much. As the longtime director of S.H.I.E.L.D., he's been the puppet master behind countless missions, secrets, and conspiracies. But in Original Sin, Marvel takes that idea and cranks it to 11. We find out Fury has secretly been the man on the wall, Earth's invisible protector, who's been assassinating alien threats and cosmic dangers before they ever had the chance to attack. He's been carrying that burden for decades, silently doing what no one else would dare, and it catches up to him. During the Original Sin storyline, the heroes confront Fury about his actions, and things spiral out of control. In a moment that shocks everyone, Fury kills Uatu the Watcher, the big, bold guy who just stands on the moon observing everything. Fury takes one of Uatu's eyes to access his secrets, which is such a wild move that you instantly know there's no going back. And by the end of the story, Fury is punished by the cosmic entities, and his punishment is almost poetic. Instead of killing him, they force Nick Fury to take Uatu's place. He becomes the Unseen, the new Watcher of Earth. He's chained to the moon, cursed to observe everything but never interfere again. For a guy like Fury who's been pulling strings and making impossible calls his whole life, that's worse than that. It's the ultimate twist. The man who always acted now has to sit and watch powerless for all eternity. The Unseen's face is scarred and half hidden under a hood, and he looks much older and wearier than the cigar-chomping super spy we're used to. He's not this slick, confident Fury anymore. He's this somber, almost ghostly figure watching Earth from afar. It's Marvel showing what happens when you strip a man down to nothing but his guilt and his knowledge. Thematically, the Unseen is a brilliant way to elevate Fury from just a spy to a mythic figure in the Marvel universe. He's no longer just coordinating the Avengers or yelling at Tony Stark. He is literally part of the cosmic order now. It also gives Marvel a way to keep Fury relevant in a universe full of gods and multiversal events. Whenever something big happens, you know the Unseen saw it coming, but can't do anything about it. And of course, being Marvel, they've teased that Fury might still find ways to interfere even if he's not supposed to. He's passed cryptic warnings to heroes, and you just know that one day he's going to break the Watcher's rules in some epic way.